set up in 96 along with my husband. We manufacture imitation jewelry, and we are currently one of the premier brands in the country. We retail through department stores, and we retail through the internet, we retail through television, we export. We have come together today to try and find ways of improving the lot of women entrepreneurs in India by private action, government action, corporate action, NGO. At the outset, I have to clarify one thing. A typical approach towards women entrepreneurship makes it seem that the barriers women face are removable through individual action. What is needed, we suggest, is for women to train or educate themselves better, develop more appropriate networks and mentoring relationships, and reassign domestic work. This effectively shifts the attention of policymakers from the environmental constraints towards women entrepreneurs. While individual support is an important element in an overall policy strategy, an enabling environment takes on a special importance. There is a specific role for the government in creating adequate political and socio-economic framework conditions. I think an analogy of the approach I would like to give here is that suppose we take a role, we say, okay, how do we solve the problem of women's safety? Let's ask all women to learn judo and karate. And let's not bother about the policing or the justice system. So we must move. Of course, we can do things to improve our own lot. We can get together and do things. But there is a role for the government to play. And I'm going to be focusing on what the government can do. That is going to be my focus. We've talked about mentoring and things like that. And I'm going to be basing it on the kind of problems I have come across while trying to set up my industry. I also, are women unequal? Just a couple of facts I'm giving. Only 2% of India's land is owned by women. That is shocking. And essentially, this is a reflection that women don't control resources. They don't control assets. They don't control income. They don't even control the income they earn. They were talking about alcoholism. Now, even in the neighborhood slum areas I have somebody coming to work at my house, and she just told me one day that 8 women are very happy because their 8 alcoholic husband died. I was shocked. So they routinely had a problem that these women would earn, the husband would snatch away the money. So this problem is there that women don't control resources. They say 20% of India's entrepreneurs are women. Now, this was very well highlighted in the survey that basically most Indian women entrepreneurs are in the poor segments of society, and they have come in due to necessity. The minute you get into a medium enterprise level or even a SME level, the percentages they said was 4%. I could not find any data on it, but I can tell you I'm working in Noida. We have maybe 5,000 registered industries there. I think there may be 50 or 60 women who are actually running enterprises. The registrations are probably 10%. I've talked to local bank managers. They said about 10% of the loans go to women, but most of them are not going to. I mean, they're not going to women who are actually running the businesses. Now, we've talked about why women's entrepreneurship is important. Just whiz through it. Poverty alleviation, it's a very effective tool to give economically empower women. And women also spend money differently. I think that is really well illustrated by Bangladesh, where while though the income per capita is maybe half of India's, but the social indicators are much better because the money is being spent by the women. And the one thing I'd like to emphasize that the status of women in India, whatever we can talk about facts, the gender ratios, which are very bad even in affluent circles, actually give you a very clear, revealed idea of what is the actual status of women in these. Now, for women, why is it that we should all, besides gender equity as a millennium goal, as they suggest, the next demographic dividend is going to come from women. maybe 20-30% of the women are working in the middle classes, and the rest are underemployed. Then it's not that they're not working at home, but they are definitely underemployed. Women-owned businesses employ more women. Now, this, I don't know what is the data available for this, but on an anecdotal and all the people I know, definitely we employ more women. I personally, I'm working in an industrial area. I have labor, men and women workers. My production manager is a woman. My labor consultant is a woman. My store in charge is a woman. I doubt whether you'll be able to find another woman production manager in Noida. They say, you know, how can you deal with labor? So these things happen because we don't have the same barriers in our mind while employing women. And then this trickles down to more empowerment for the women who get employed. And I mean, this is very controversial, this statement, but I think I have a hunch, and everybody here in the audience may share in it, that generally women run their businesses slightly more ethically. They do less, they do less tax evasion, they break less laws, maybe because they're better people, maybe because they are more risk averse. I don't know why, but they just do less of it. So it could probably improve the quality of our public dealing, and in a country rife with corruption, it might improve this element. Now, I've divided the kind of problems faced by women entrepreneurs. Entry barriers, which is when women make up their minds whether they want to enter business or they don't want to enter business. Setting up the business, and the operational problems they face, and growth problems. Here I'd like to clarify that I'm basically going to be talking about women operating in the SME sector. I'm not going to be talking about self-employed rural women or people who are making baskets. I mean, that's worthwhile and that's where it comes. But because of my experience, and this is and we have many very knowledgeable people on the rural area. Now, entry barriers. Regarding women's employment, I'd just like to share a small example. I have a friend from my batch in IIM Ahmedabad. She was head of BPO division in Wipro. She left a few years ago to start up rural BPOs, and with some colleagues, they have about 4 or 5 centers in the south, and they are targeting at employing 60% women. These are not call centers. They employ women engineers to do BPO activities, and they conducted some studies amongst what happens to the money and how it affects the people. So most of these employees they get are from family backgrounds of farming, weaving, artisans, etc. And they learned that women employees reinvest 90% of their income on their families, while the men employees only spend 40%. So a huge social multiplier is being created, and this focus towards women employees is something that has come about in part because the employer is a woman. So there's a multiplier effect. Okay. Entry barriers. You know, we are a very patriarchal society. As I said, that, you know, the first person to discourage you when women want to go into business are family members. A friend of mine wanted to set up a business. Her father-in-law came down from out of town, and he said, how much money do you want to spend? Why are you doing this business? Ask me and I'll give you the money. So that is a very typical attitude that you come across. Now, the other thing is that people generally believe that women won't be able to manage. It's too complex. And there are too many, you know, we're not a very highly legal kind of society, so there are too many things which you have to handle on your own, which they think women may not be able to manage that. Now, I have a theory on, and women themselves are also doubtful because of what they have seen. And as you say, the real percentage of women entrepreneurs may be 4 or 5% in their own circles. So what I think that one thing is going to happen, that, see, there are already demographic changes happening in India. In these circles, most people will have 2 children. which means statistically 25% of people will not have any sons. Who's going to inherit their business? In the older days, it would be the nephew because of the kind of joint family systems. But today, it would be the daughter. The business may be run by the son-in-law or the daughter. If the daughters get married late, which they're doing, they normally come into the business before they get married. So already we are seeing this effect. Think about all the people you know. We are already seeing this demographic effect of women entering into the business stream. But that is a slow process, it will take time. The other thing is that if you want to make somebody believe in something, you can train them, you can try, you can have talks, you can tell them women can do it, but, or you can hold up large role models like Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, that okay, if she can do this, you can also do it. But what really works is if your sister-in-law has set up a business and she's earning 5 lakh rupees a month. If your neighbor has just bought a new car because the woman's business, that is what really influences you, not far away stories. I think the way would be to create a certain critical mass of women entrepreneurs, by hook or by crook, by, you know, highly favoring policies, by being unfair to men, by doing whatever, you know, you can justify this, that this is not a fair policy. Why should women get this kind of preference? But if you create a certain critical mass, maybe, you know, instead of this 4%, if you get it up to 20% or 25%, then you can discontinue the policy and the policy will not be required. But it's very important to create that critical mass. That is the main thing. Now, how do we create that critical mass? That is one thing. Government policy. So this is one in entry. We want to create critical masses so that people are incentivized, and we want to create physical incentives. Okay, there is this land being allotted. A woman will get it, a man will not get it. You will have a lot of notional ownership, okay? Nominal ownership will take place. That you have a woman's name, but actually the man owns it. But once you start controlling assets, even nominally, it creates a change. It creates a change. And we have to say, at this cost, do we create a change? Yes, because of the public good that women being in the business create. Now, other problems setting up, fund shortage. Now, sources of funds are own funds, which you have earned, which you control, family funds, informal networks, and banking and other institutional funds. Women don't control their own funds. If they earn, then it normally goes into the family. A lot of them don't earn. The family business income is not in their files. You just have to examine income tax returns and you know that. Family funds, women tend to, family funds are generally, sons are given more money. And so women normally start off with much smaller amounts. They normally don't borrow and lend money amongst each other, so the informal networks don't work so well for them. And banking, you know, collateral is an issue, though there are government schemes, but they don't work. It's very difficult for women to get bank finance. So I'm telling you, I am an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. I didn't have collateral. I took 4 years to get a loan after being in business. It's ridiculous. But that is how it works. Now, space acquisition. I would like to say that, for example, we promoted, as part of a women entrepreneurs group in Noida, we promoted a women entrepreneurs park where we got space allocated for 100 women entrepreneurs. And a lot of people who were working briefly in their family businesses, or even women who were working from home, because of this were able to expand their businesses and get onto a firmer footing. Government clearances and regulations. I think we cannot underestimate the deterrent factor and the problems that these kind of things create. I want to be quite frank. You see, in India, there is a lot of facilitation that goes on in government offices. Women find it very difficult to get these things done. And one solution which we had, we were doing group action. Suppose, like when we did this park, we gave all the clearances, all our applications together. Somebody asked for money. So we went and complained. And we managed to get all those things through without giving any money. In the process, because I was sort of the person in front, they cancelled my allocation on a small thing. Some point they took out, which I had to run about, and I managed to get it restored. But the thing is, this is a very, this much effort should not be required to do business. There are solutions. We can take out solutions like this. But we have to have better solutions than this, because your energy goes in fighting this and a lot of people just give up. They say, you know, kaun karega? I don't want to get involved in people asking me 5,000 do, 10,000 do. They don't want to do it, so they just go home. Now, for fund shortage, I'd give some suggestions. That give some income tax rebates. You can save more of your funds. Probably your husbands will put their incomes in your file, so you have a little more control over the funds. I'm being very practical. This is what happens. In banking, quotas should be set for lending, for collateral-free lending. Property we should incentivize to put property in women's names, so it is available for them as collateral when they're looking for bank funding. Special space allocation for government. I've suggested women entrepreneurs guidance cells, special women-friendly windows at DICs, and special grievance redressal cells, where you can cope with the kind of harassment that takes place. Operations, we have problems like sales, purchase, time conflicts because of childcare. Sales, we can help by quotas in government purchases, margins in auctions. Generally selling in the market, I don't see how we can sensitize people to buying it. Another friend, she set up a garment manufacturing. She went and spoke to one of the leading exporters of the country. This is about 20 years ago. And she said, why don't you give us some business? So he's saying, मैं तो ladies को कभी business ही नहीं देता, वो एक मिनट में रोने लग जाती हैं. Which means I don't give business to women because they just start crying. Now, these kind of approaches, I think only this critical mass thing can help. I don't think any kind of training, gender sensitization, none of this is going to help this approach. Time conflicts, I think there is very little quality childcare available. You have Anganwadis, but you don't have proper childcare. Government should maybe incentivize the way, make childcare a priority sector. Even private players, public, you know, to control public institutions is difficult, but private players we can encourage. And maybe something like in many countries in the West, you have school systems which seamlessly carry on to childcare. So that really helps growth. Again, it's funds and this, okay. Now I've just come down to the recommendations which I'm giving. Waiver of stamp duty and registration charges on property of women. Gujarat has done it, and there is a huge amount of property being registered in the name of women, and it is going to empower them, nominal or otherwise. When we have 2% ownership of assets, this becomes like a priority area. Lower income tax rates by 2% across each slab. Lower interest rates on business loans. See, my focus here is that today it is tougher for women to do business. Government should make it so much easier for a woman to do business that men will long to be women, that we'll get all these benefits. Let's do the business in this woman's name. So, this is just one more slide, I think. Quota for lending to women in banks. A guarantee scheme for zero collateral lending. Quotas in government purchase. They have set up a SME quota. But I think a special quota should be there for women-owned enterprises. And maybe margins in auction-based things. For institutions, infrastructure, women entrepreneurs guidance and training cells, special windows in the DIC, special grievance redressal cells, women entrepreneurs organizations to be promoted. I illustrated how, as a women entrepreneurs organization, we helped. So they should be promoted. It does make a difference. and childcare facilities to be encouraged. Training and facilitation. We can do gender sensitization workshops for financial sectors and government departments, and training programs for women. Suggestion for FLO. I think we should establish a National Women Entrepreneurship Fund, which FLO can help. And we can operate women entrepreneur guidance and training cells, because FLO has many chapters nationwide. We can help with the work with the local government, and we can help undertake gender sensitization training for various agencies. I'd just like to finish with a very old Sanskrit shlok, which I think even our founding fathers had realized. Yatra naryastu pujante, tatra ramanti devaha. Where women are worshipped, the gods dwell there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Archana Gupta, for giving us a very first-hand account of what it takes to become an entrepreneur for a woman, and then giving us a very comprehensive menu of actions that government and women themselves, the self-help groups of women and FICCI ladies organization need to do. So we are very much behind time. You have given us a very good, all of you have given us a very good food for thought. Now there's time for food. So I like to close this session, and with I think we wanted to have an open discussion from all of you, but in the afternoon, precisely that is what we are going to do. So we will not, spend any time on the question answers now. We will wait them for, in the afternoon. If you could hold your comments and questions for the afternoon, it would be very much appreciated, because we need to break for lunch. I was asked if you wanted just 1 minute, exactly one. Yeah, okay, please.
So the point that I wanted to make was that, these are some very excellent suggestions which came in the last presentation, and at a very appropriate time, because, at a time when with the dip in the child sex ratio, government is seriously looking at like what can be the strategies which are like, as a counter strategy to arrest this decline in the CSR. Incidentally, we have been asked to, make a national plan of action. And we've had a series of 3 regional consultations, one in Hyderabad, Pune, one is happening in Guwahati right now, and the last one in Lucknow. I would really request even Archana Gupta, to be there and to inform in the policy. Yeah, when we make that, it's not that, just the education change in education curriculum is enough. So these are some of the structural things, and I'm sure that at this point of time, it may see some of these,
Absolutely.
may see the light of the day. Thank you.
Very good.
I'd just like to ask you one thing. Is it possible to get data for sex ratios at birth for women who own assets, for women who own their businesses, and for working women who file income tax returns? I'm very curious if it's possible to conduct surveys to do that, because it may have, if you find that the gender ratios here are much better,
Absolutely.
it would give a pathway to the government.
This is something we have also recommended in the National Plan of Action, that the asset ownership, the income, lower income, higher income-wise, a classification of women is extremely essential to get this, also the sex ratios.
Good. I think.
Add one thing.
Yes.
I just want to say that if we may not have formal data, but I do know that, from working in Gujarat and working in Karnataka, but more from Gujarat, that the higher income women are in very large numbers also practicing child sex discrimination. So don't expect too much from this result, because the more the money the family has.
One of the richest people I know has done this. So it's not about affluence.
Absolutely.
But whether the woman who is birth ratios for women who are working and who have their own incomes. Not family incomes, own incomes.
No, it's actually, we have had such a tremendous session, and I really hate to close this, but, I think we have to look at the watch and come back quickly to to keep this momentum and this interactive nature of the dialogue that we have started this morning, to continue with that. And I'd just like to close this by giving a very big hand to our panelists. They have brought some tremendous perspectives and lessons for government and other stakeholders to act. Thank you very much indeed, and join us for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I invite Nagesh Kumar to give a memento to all the speakers, please?
I didn't bring my card.